Hello everybody. This is a video on how to do the comparisons in the comparative marking section of the assignment. Okay, the assignment is worth 5 marks. Oh, sorry, this part of the assignment's worth 5 marks. So get it done. Do it carefully. You're marking other people's work. So put the time and effort into getting it right and treat that work with the respect that somebody's put into it. Okay, you're getting this as a video largely because I want everyone to have the same message and see the same details. If you've got any questions or problems with comparative marking, please come and see me. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the background of this is the folders. This contains everybody's assignment. Okay, so 1 to 80 people in the course. Okay, you find which ones you are supposed to mark by the spreadsheet that's attached to the thing. So you'll see my name is Jason, and these are the first set of 5 assignments I've got to do, and this is the second set of 5 assignments you've got to do. Okay, so you're going to do the same task twice, and it'll count for 2 lots of SLAs. Okay, this one you'll see that these numbers are hopefully, if I haven't made a mistake, all different to your number and all different to the ones over here. Okay, so what you do is you go to those numbers in this folders and find the appropriate part of the assignment for each person you're doing. Okay, it's sometimes all labeled a bit differently. I should have given marks for following the naming and labeling stuff convention. Then more people would have followed the same thing, but that's in the past now. You'll notice that some things, like for 6, is a blank one. I put those in because some people submitted late, and I wanted to have the gaps for people to submit into. Okay, but obviously not everyone submitted. So if you get a blank one, just go to the next number and the next number and the next number. Okay, it's not particularly important that everyone does the exact comparisons they do that are on that list. I just don't want people to all go in and do 1, 2, 3 and then the last ones aren't marked. So it just spreads the attention from everybody around. Okay, so when you find your assignments, open them, have a read. Okay, the first one in my list was this one. Okay, so your key with this is to put it into a rank order. Okay, what I would do is read the assignment as a teacher marking it. Okay, now if you look at the rubrics that have been on your assignment, they generally put it into 3 or 4 categories and then give points for the better ones. So you can do that yourself. Okay, the categories I picked for this, in lining with is it the best assignment? Is it a good description of what the normal distribution looks like and how it's used? Is the first category I looked at was, is the maths and the graph good? How good are the maths and the graph? Okay, and just focused on the sort of calculations I can see in the assignment and the quality of the graph that's there. Okay, the second thing I looked at was the communication. Does the writing convince me of the points it's trying to make and clearly illustrate the person's ideas about the normal distribution? And finally, their understanding of the normal distribution. Did they use the tool to its maximum to answer a question that was deep? Okay, there's a lot of things you can do with the normal distribution. Okay, you can use it to analyze the percentage of stuff. You can use it to see if the what percentage of numbers are likely to be over this. does that match your graph? Is the graph following, is the underlying graph, the bar graph, following the normal distribution or not? All of these are good questions, okay? So I'll go through this one with those 3 criteria, okay? When you're marking 2, or I find that when I'm marking, you want to start with the assumption in your head it's going to be average. Okay, you're looking for average. And then what you do is you adjust that depending on what you're reading. Okay, so most assignments are going to be in the 3 out of 5 scale mark. Yeah, bang in the middle. Okay, and if the assignment is, that's not a bad thing. You're not making a harsh judgment. Okay, and if you see something good, you might want to consider pushing it up. If you see something you're like, oh, that's not right, or I don't think that's done well, then that'll drag your number down. Okay, so just going through this, and bear in mind I've read it before for the speed of the video, I thought the graph was very good. It describes accurately what it is. It's got maximum, median, standard deviation, and all those numbers look right. I'll just go through and do the calculation part first, and then talk about the other things I'm seeing. It's pretty good, but there's no specific Z scores. There's no probability of certain numbers happening, and there's no discussion about where the graph is more or less. So this again, I would put in the middle calculation-wise, unless I see something that sort of stands out to me. I mean, it's done a perfectly fine job. Okay, all of it looks right, but it's the first level of normal distribution. Let's look at the graph. Let's do the average and the standard deviation, and doesn't go deeper into the problem. It's got reference list, which is great. Okay, so I give that a 3 for the maths. Then looking through it again for the communication, the writing was fine. It very clearly illustrates what I'm doing. It's broken up into paragraphs that show me what that is. The person understands the normal distribution. Okay. The last part, I would say, is a little bit below what I'd expect, the communication using the normal distribution. Because if you look at the data, it's all good. Like it's a good illustration of maths, but then does the second half of the year hotter than the first? That's not a graph that you need the normal distribution for. There's no normal distribution in the question. You could answer the question completely without the normal distribution, just by doing what they've done here, which is looking at the 2 lines on the graph. And there's no percentage or average difference between these 2 lines. So it's overall a very good assignment, but that lets it down a bit. Okay? And please understand, particularly if this is your assignment, that these are not like personal judgments. I think you've put in a lot of effort and done a really good job. It's just, this is the back end of teaching and making judgments and sort of looking for what people have done well and where they can improve. So that's the first one done. I would give that 3 for the math, 3 for the communication, 2 for the normal distribution, being a total of 8. Okay, this was the second one I looked at. Okay, I'll go through this a bit quicker. As you can see, you got to scroll. This was a lot of scrolling. Okay, so they've gone through their first part, which is great. Rose, people. Rose. Everything by column means so much scrolling. Cool. So, question. Graph looks good. In here, they mention the skewness. All the communication seems right. Again, they've got the averages down, the maximum, the minimum. Okay, they go into their question. What's the most frequent temperature? Cool. Again, it does really good at sort of analysing the normal distribution, but it doesn't go into the depth of this percentage of days, this percentage of, this would be what the normal distribution predicts. This is what the graph shows. This is the things that are the same. This is the things that are different. It wants to ask the question of, were there abnormalities, but doesn't quantify those. Okay, and this could just be the bias of it being maths assignment, but quantities. This is out by 7 is far more convincing than the lines a bit or bit, whatever. And that communication of clearly illustrating the idea of the line and the idea of the numbers behind it is what I'm looking for. So again, my bias is towards the assignment being average. I start off thinking it's average, and everything this assignment has done confirms that it's a solid assignment, doing a good job at everything, but nothing stands out as particularly awesome. Okay? Which, again, I'm not being mean to the person who did this. It's a fine job. You should be proud. You've put effort in. You've understood the topic. Very, very well done. Okay? But these are the sort of judgments that one makes as a teacher. Okay? And now that you're looking at the assignment, you'll need to make those judgments too. Okay? And the other thing is that this is not just to mark the assignment, but I'm also hoping that by seeing these things, you can go, oh, yeah, and look at your own assignment and think, this is what I could have done better. This is what I did really well. So next, that one got free. Okay, now this is one where the person has not used the normal distribution. They've understood Benford's law really well and applied Benford's law to data and the graph. Okay? And so I gave it really good for communication. It got 3 and 3 for communication, and the maths of Benford's law was done well, but it got 0 for the normal distribution because the normal distribution is not here. Okay, and this is a really good illustration that if, like, particularly I used to teach SOS, if you hand out an assignment to a class of SOS people, someone will misunderstand the question. Someone will answer a completely different question really, really well, put a lot of effort in, be an awesome person, and just make a mistake by answering the wrong question. And that's heartbreaking because you can't give somebody the marks they deserve based on effort if they haven't done the task, which is to answer a specific question. The question was about the normal distribution and using the normal distribution to analyze something and then showing your understanding the normal distribution using that analysis. This hasn't used the normal distribution. Thus, it cannot get good marks. So this one ended up with 4 out of the 15. Sorry, for each of these, I've been using like a 5-point scale. So 1 for the maths, 3 for the communication, because the communication was very good, was well written, and then 0 for the normal. Okay. Next. Cool. This person does a really good job. Okay, as you can see, the first part is just their reading on the normal distribution, which is perfectly fine. Okay, it's got a good graph. It shows the percentages and the numbers. Okay, this is not adding to their understanding of the normal distribution or the maths through them doing it, but to include your background reading and your references and what your frame of reference for the thing is a very good idea. They've looked at temperatures in Perth, and they've got two graphs, one from 2019 and one from 1979. And you can see the 2019 and the 1979 are different. Okay, that was a very good idea that I wanted to hint it to people, but not say, because I wanted the inspiration and the imagination to come up with that idea yourself to be rewarded. But it's a really, really, really good idea to look at two things and look at the change. Okay, because you can have a lot to talk about, which has a bigger average, which has a bigger standard deviation. How does that affect the graph? Okay, does that affect the chance of a bigger maximum temperature? Does that affect the chance of a bigger minimum temperature? It's climate change done stuff to Perth Airport data. Okay, these are all interesting questions that you can look at just through analysing 2 years and going, this is what this one looks like, this is what that one looks like, same, different. Okay. So I thought the idea of the normal distribution was great. But again, there's not those percentages. Okay? There's not that very clear sort of discussion of the specific calculations, the z-scores of different temperatures that the normal distribution gives you. Okay, so looking back at this, you can see, like, I'll do the calculations, except I'm going to run out of time on the video, but you can see here that it's a normal short tail. And your 38, your 39, your 40 have a pretty average chance of happening compared to your really low temperatures. Go to here and you see how massive that tail is. Okay? And I could say that there's a lot better chance, because both the average and the average is higher and the standard deviation is higher, of getting these extreme 43, 44, 43, 44, 45. Those numbers have a much greater chance of occurring if your average temperature goes up, pushed up by this little hump there. Okay, and you could go through that in very specific numbers. So this is overall a very good one. I will give it 3.5 for the maths, 4 for the communication, just because of those two graphs. I think that was a really good communication technique, and a 4 for the understanding of the normal distribution. So I think this was a really good assignment overall, very much because I had that two graph idea and used it fairly well to talk about the comparison. I said a lot of what I do, but they did a good job at looking at the averages and the different temperatures. Okay, final assignment. Wow, this person's done the same thing. Okay, what percentage of days on the graph experience weather equal to or greater than 35 degrees? What z-score for each graph 35 degree data? That's an ideal question. Okay, that's the sort of question that we were looking for, or that I was looking for, in the second to last one. Oh, sorry, in the last one that we did. They've done it using the numbers on the thing. Yeah, they've done it using the percentages based on the days, which is cool. But they haven't done it using the Z score as well. Because what you have here is two things where you can look at the averages and such, and you can look at the percentages on the line, which is cool. But you can also look at the percentages of the distribution and just show that by average temperatures going up a little bit, it really does lead to more extremes. Okay, so it's close, it's really close, but it's just not there. So this one I give a 4 for the mass 4. I think they've come very close. A 4 for the communication, and a 4.5 for their understanding of the normal distribution, just because they've gone into that little bit deeper with percentages. Okay, so my assignments are going to look like that was the first one. That was probably the best of all of them. The one with the 2 graphs was the second best. Then this one was my 5th position. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, you can't see my tabs because I've got people's names on them, but what I'm doing is just putting the tabs in order so I can look at them from worst to best, just to confirm in my head that this is the order I want. But what I've done is I've added up all the scores I've given. This is the order it gives me. So 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. I'm happy with that. Okay, so what I do is I go to the Google Docs, the Google form. Okay. My name. Oh, sorry, I've got to put in, I'm in the editing bit. There we go. Cool, so this is my quiz. You fill in your name, your last name, your line. I'll be in my line 4 class. The video rank number 1 was 63. And I just put in all the rankings. So I just want to put in everyone's number. I can't click on next, but you click on next. You've got to put in 1 comment for one of the videos. You can add additional comments if you want, but I thought those comments are going to guide some of the feedback we give as well. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Once you've filled out the first Google form, remember there's a second one. You've got to do this process twice with those 2 sets of numbers, but hopefully that takes you through everything. That was a very long video for me. Okay, key things to take away from this video. Number 1, use the spreadsheet to find the assignments you've got to mark. Number 2, go into the folder of those assignments and mark them. I would pick 3 criteria just so you can give them a number based on each. Okay, I would pick a 5-point scale because I think any more than 5 numbers and you start going into weird and wonderful. No, 5 is easier. Have a bias towards the middle. If they do something really good, up it a bit. If they don't do something that looks great, down it a bit. Okay, but accept that a score in the middle is not a bad thing. Okay, add them up, put them in rank order from first to last, review your rank order just to make sure that you're happy with it, and then chuck it in the spreadsheet. And if you've got any questions, please just ask. Thank you very much. Bye, guys and girls.